what is true religion? What is nature of God? What is yourself? What do all these things have in common? You, yourself, your life. Why did it all come together? Because the life is unsatisfactory. The life in this physical world as we live it, as we experience it, is unsatisfactory, to say the least. And I'm not going to, go into talking about all the reasons why it is unsatisfactory, because I think we can all agree on that, and then proceed from there on. Life is not what we want it to be. Life is not how we want it to be. Life is not, it's just not what we want it to be. As simple as that. And then what? Then we turn to something else. Then we turn to something that can provide us with something better. And there are not many alternatives. This is the problem. The lack of alternatives is the problem. What we have on one side is institutionalized religions that offer some sort of a recipe for things we need to do, procedures, rituals, what we need to follow. They even go so far to sort of even tell us exactly how to live, how to dress, what to eat, how to sort of behave, and all sorts of things. They limit us so much. And we all accept it. We get into it. We accept it all. We swallow it all. Because we are so hungry for an alternative to this life that is so unsatisfactory. And yet all these institutionalized religions, they get a power and they use it over people. And people give it away. They give away their power. They give away their rights to these institutionalized religions to a very high extent. While it's all based just on a belief which is nothing, belief which is just a pile of imagination, belief which is something that you do not know. If you know, it is not a belief. If it is know, it's a knowing. You've got an experience of it, or you've just got a knowing, as in knowing inside you, as intuition. But this blind faith that is sort of part of the procedures and the rituals and scriptures that the organized religions are pushing on people is unsatisfactory too, to say the least. But alternatives are missing. This is the problem. Alternatives are missing. What is missing is something that is widespread enough and that it starts early enough in life, where we are still children, where we're still growing up, to present us with a more viable alternative of what is. Why life as it is actually not unsatisfactory, but what it is the lack of knowledge, the lack of understanding of what life is about. That the God that all these institutionalized religions are presenting is something outside us, something outside ourselves and outside this physical world, is actually something that is inside us. And that the nature of God is actually the same as the nature of self. So if such a viable alternative that is based on actual experience and not on a belief, but on knowing, on experience, on something that you check yourself with your experience. If you don't experience it, then for you it doesn't exist. Do not go on building beliefs. Go on for experience. If we have a proper guidance from a very early age that offers us this viable alternative of how life can be seen as something satisfactory, how life in this physical world is just a very tiny percent, maybe 10% of the whole experience, the whole consciousness that is available to us as human beings. If we get that understanding and we start experiencing different levels of consciousness that are available to us in this body, in this physical world, then everything will change. But what is missing, of course, why this world is in this state of disarray, why the human lives are so unsatisfactory, why this whole setup is so lacking. It is lack of alternative. among the human masses on a large scale. And yet it is available. The alternative is here. There is a spiritual path that takes you by experience, by something that you experience yourself, inside yourself, to all the different levels of consciousness when everything opens up, when you understand. There's this experience on a physical level that feels so unsatisfactory because you believe that it's the only experience available to you. It's actually not that unsatisfactory, that it's actually part of a much bigger picture, of a much bigger structure. And once you understand the structure, you understand why this fifth level, the physical level of experience is here and what it is for, everything changes. The whole attitude towards life in this physical experience changes. And your experience of the life on a physical level changes too. You understand what it's about, and you understand that it's not the only experience available. And you understand what it's here for. And it is not a blind faith. It's nothing to do with the faith. It's just to do with the knowing that it's based on experience. So what do we need? We need to spread the word of this viable alternative that is accessible to everyone, regardless of what part of the world, regardless of the gender, regardless of the everything else that all institutionalized religions often discriminate against. Not to talk about all the different divisions that are part of this world, physical world that we experienced, and that are just sort of dividing us even more and more and more, and destroying even more of what should be one whole. One whole universe that is just one, based on the experience of one, and then going down on these different levels of consciousness till we come to the lowest level of consciousness, which is the physical level. Once seen like that, once growing up with that sort of explanation, with guidance that takes us through that sort of experience, everything changes. The experience of a physical life as we experience it now, it changes completely. And it is no more unsatisfactory. We see it as part of the much bigger picture, and we see what it is for. And we see that it's definitely not the only one, but actually the lowest, the least important level of consciousness. The most limiting, the most unsatisfactory. So on my channel, I talk mostly about this viable alternative that is accessible to everyone, and that we should go for. We should take it. We should grab it with our both hands. And if we have children, we should bring up our children knowing and understanding this viable alternative of a spiritual path that uncovers the whole 5 levels of consciousness. It does not limit human beings just on the 5th, the lowest, the physical level. It is accessible to all, and it is not really that difficult, but it helps if you understand it. It helps if you experience it, and it helps if you grow up with it, if you grow in it, instead of growing with this absolute nonsense that are teaching us, that are feeding us from the very moment we come into this world, of how this physical level of experience is the only thing that is, and there is nothing else. And as unsatisfactory as it is, they're just trying to manufacture all these different lies about why it is so great, why it is so satisfactory, why is it so sort of beautiful when it sort of isn't, all in all. We should all go for it. We should all go for this viable alternative of life as is, as it really is, of the truth about life and human experience and everything that is as is, about the nature of God and the nature of self being the same. That's it for now. Talk soon. Bye-bye.